Donald Trump's legislative agenda has already been facing hurdles in the US Congress, as progress on his priorities like the voter ID bill, confirmation of his nominee for Attorney General, and his push for $350 billion in new military spending have stalled. But things look set to get even harder following the sudden death of Republican Senator from South Carolina, Lindsey Graham, last week. The death of Graham, a senior Republican and close Trump ally, leaves influential committee seats vacant, leaves the Republican Party without its most important conduit to the White House, and adds to the legislative difficulty already complicated by the extended medical absence of Senator Mitch McConnell. So in this video, we're going to explain why Graham's death and McConnell's absence weakens a Republican Party that's already fighting amongst itself, and what it means for Trump's big priorities. If you love staying informed and want some of the best reporting on YouTube, then subscribe and ring the bell for more. Let's begin with Lindsey Graham and Mitch McConnell. Lindsey Graham was a political veteran, having served as the Republican senator from South Carolina since 2003. On July the 11th, it was announced that he had died of a, quote, brief and sudden illness. The 71-year-old had just returned from a trip to Ukraine, and the preliminary medical examination suggests that he died of an aortic dissection caused by cardiovascular disease. The Republican governor of South Carolina has since appointed Graham's sister, Darlene Graham Nordone, to fill the vacancy in the Senate through January. In the meantime, there'll need to be a special fast-tracked Republican primary in August to replace Lindsey Graham on the November Senate ballot. And then there's his Republican colleague, Senator Mitch McConnell. 84-year-old McConnell, who has represented Kentucky in the Senate since 1985, has been hospitalized and absent from Congress for more than 4 weeks, following a medical emergency on June 14th at his home in Washington, D.C. There were weeks of radio silence, prompting much speculation about his well-being, even questioning whether or not he was alive. But last weekend, he finally put out a statement, accompanied by a photo of him with a strategically placed copy of the day's newspaper. The statement said he had been admitted to hospital after falling over at home due to mobility challenges related to childhood polio, but that while in hospital he'd developed pneumonia. He added that he's focusing on his recovery and, on the advice of doctors, won't be able to return to the Senate quite yet. He said he still intended to serve the final 6 or so months of his term, stating, "I still have unfinished business to complete." Now, given Graham's seat has been temporarily filled by his sister, his death doesn't change the Senate's arithmetic. However, McConnell's continued absence does mean that Republicans are now working with 52 votes, rather than 53, until he returns, while the Democrats have 47. But even with Graham's vacancy filled, his death could still have a significant impact on ongoing legislative fights, and put Trump's priorities at risk, given his seniority. Lindsey Graham was the chair of the Senate Budget Committee, and sat on 3 other committees too: the Judiciary Committee, Appropriations Committee, and Environmental and Public Works Committee. One of Trump's top priorities is the Save America Act, a bill that introduces strict voting requirements, including mandating voter ID and proof of citizenship, and restricting mail-in ballots. The bill faces staunch Democratic opposition, but is also at the centre of an internal Republican feud. For Trump and his most loyal foot soldiers in Congress, passing the Save America Act is basically priority number 1. Several Republican senators, Susan Collins, Mitch McConnell, Lisa Murkowski, and Tom Tillis, are opposed to the bill, and even if all Republicans backed it, they still wouldn't have the 60 votes needed to overcome the filibuster procedure. The bill's stagnation in the Senate has enraged Trump. He's urged Senate Republicans to abolish the filibuster so it can be passed with a simple majority. His allies in the House of Representatives have demanded the Save America Act be attached to must-pass defense policy legislation, and have held up the House's business in an effort to pressure the Senate. Trump has also vowed not to sign any other legislation into law until Congress approves the Save America Act. This is exactly what he did with a recent bipartisan housing bill. However, it became law automatically after 10 days, since he neither signed or vetoed it. Lindsey Graham was a staunch advocate of the Save America Act, and when Trump was reacting to Graham's death, he even said that, "This is a big blow to the Save America Act, let me tell you." Now, the truth is, even if Graham was still alive, he wouldn't have been able to single-handedly engineer the passing of the bill, and he himself didn't support scrapping the filibuster. But crucially, Graham was a key go-between between Trump and Republican leaders in the Senate, helping to manage their relationship and find ways of working around things. Trump's former legislative director, Mark Short, said of Graham that he was good at kind of redirecting sometimes the president's energy to a more constructive place. This suggests that, without Graham, Trump's relations with Senate Republicans may only get worse, and he may become even more singularly focused on things like the Save America Act, at the expense of, well, everything else. Similarly, as chair of the Budget Committee, and an avowed pro-war hawk, Graham was playing a key role in the Trump administration's push to pass a new party-line budget reconciliation bill that would inject another $350 billion into the US military. His likely replacement as committee chair, Republican Senator Ron Johnson, says he will push ahead with the effort, but as a noted deficit hawk, he could complicate things by seeking cuts elsewhere to offset the cost of the spending boost. Additionally, the Trump administration is seeking congressional approval on a $67 billion funding top-up for the Pentagon to help finance the ongoing war in Iran. Both Graham and McConnell are or were on the relevant Senate Appropriations Committee. Graham's vacancy can be filled by another Republican, but McConnell's absence leaves the Appropriations Committee an even 14-14 split with the Democrats, so it's hard to see the request making it out of committee anytime soon. This deadlock also complicates efforts to make progress on across-the-board government funding, with a September 30th deadline to avoid a federal shutdown getting closer and closer. And Trump's desire to get Todd Blanche approved as Attorney General by early August could be confounded by the loss of Lindsey Graham, who would have been rallying Republicans behind Blanche and sat on the Judiciary Committee, which is considering Blanche's nomination. Even if Blanche gets out of committee stage to face the full Senate, McConnell's absence means an even smaller group of Republican rebels could scupper his confirmation. With such a packed and contentious legislative agenda, prioritization, negotiations, deal-making, and institutional knowledge are going to be essential if the Republican Party and Trump administration are going to make good on their priorities. However, Graham's death and McConnell's absence means the party has lost two heavyweight power brokers, at a time when the November midterms, when the balance of power could shift against them, are steadily approaching. Now, as you're probably aware, it's kind of impossible to avoid talking or thinking about the big players that control our world, much like the ones we've spoken about today. But it's not just the government leaders that impact our day-to-day life, it's also the big companies and how it's becoming increasingly difficult to avoid their influence. So I bet you're wondering how you can start taking back that control, and luckily we have a simple solution for you, and it starts with your email. While it may seem insignificant, your email is extremely personal to you, and it's important to keep hold of what's yours, and thankfully, Proton Mail will help you get that control back. It's a private, secure alternative to big companies like Google, and will give you everything you need to be productive, all while keeping those pesky ads away from your inboxes. From preventing dangerous phishing attacks with their FishGuard protection feature, to protecting your identity by alerting you if your email has been sold to the dark web, Proton Mail has everything to keep you safe online. They also offer end-to-end and zero-access encryption, meaning your email truly stays private, inaccessible to advertisers, trackers, and even Proton itself. This means your email and your information stays safe and secure. No more ads, no tracking, and no profiling, giving you back the control you deserve. Making the switch doesn't have to be a hassle. Proton Mail's easy switch tool lets you move your emails and contacts from your current provider in just a few steps. You can even connect your Gmail account and receive and send messages from it directly in Proton Mail, while you transfer everything over at your own pace, so there's no pressure to switch all at once. So, start using Proton Mail for free today by using our link at proton.me/TLDR, and you'll be one step closer to a fully protected online experience, free of data exploitation.